Hey Giants fans, welcome back to Giants Latest. Today we are talking through part 2 of my second iteration of my roster prediction for the 2025 New York Giants. Yesterday we talked through the offense. If you want to look through that, go ahead and watch the previous video. Today we're going to talk through defense. Today at 4 p.m. the Giants have to have their roster down to 53 players. So tomorrow we're going to recap and see how I did compared to what the Giants ended up choosing. So one quick note. We had some news. Yesterday. And of course, the Commanders and Terry McLaurin went ahead and agreed to a 3-year deal. Will Micah Parsons be next? I don't know, but I'm really hoping that he at least sits out for week 2. Give me a little bit more hope that this Giants can win some games this year. So anyway, that's where we're at with that. We've got one deal done. I know we were all on the edges of our seat waiting to see what happened, and now it's official. So Micah, you're next. I'm begging you to get traded, please, or just sit out a couple games. That works too. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk through the defensive players. I'm going to start with the special teams because it's 3. It's easy. I don't see there's any chance that the Giants change this. The long snappers, Casey Kreider. The kicker is Graham Gano. The punter is Jamie Gillen. I do think that they will keep Jude McAdamney, but he is an international player, so I believe that counts. It doesn't count as part of the 53-man roster, so he could also just end up being a practice squatter. All right, moving along to the defense. I kept 5 defensive linemen, and it's basically the same 5 as the first iteration. So I have Dexter Lawrence, Nacho, Chauncey Golston, Darius Alexander, and Roy Robertson Harris. The only thing I had the first time around was either Roy Robertson Harris or Jeremiah Ledbetter, and I'm 99% sure I kept Roy Robertson Harris. So based on the playing time that I saw from these players throughout preseason and throughout training camp and what they did during that time, I think that makes the most sense, so I am keeping 5 of them. Next up, I'm moving on to the outside linebackers. So my first iteration was Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, Toman Fox, and Victor Dimukeje. I am making one change to that. Victor Dimukeje was added to an injury list throughout the summer, so he's out. So I am replacing him with Trace Ford. I think that Trace Ford did a really nice job throughout preseason. He made some really incredible tackles. I was very impressed with his tackling skills. Had some tackles for loss and just seemed to be all over the field and make some plays when needed. So I liked what I saw at a Trace Ford. I believe he's a UDFA, but I think that he is a good depth piece for this Giants roster for right now. So between him and Toman Fox, if I had to choose one, which I thought I was going to, I probably would have picked Fox, but I think that Trace Ford did enough to earn his spot on this roster, and I think that they will keep 5 because I believe that's what they did last year. So I'm sticking with that. Now, I have a change here with the linebackers because mostly I didn't like the 5th option that they have on the current roster. So I have the first time around Bobby Okereke, Micah McFadden, Darius Muasau, Chris Board, and either Ty Summers or Deontay Johnson. I believe that I kept Ty Summers the first time around. Summers unfortunately dealt with an injury, and I believe that the Giants went ahead and waived him, so he's obviously not part of this team. And then when the Giants made their first round of cuts, I believe on Friday, they cut Deontay Johnson. So he would have been my option for the 5th linebacker here. The 5th linebacker that the Giants have on their depth chart is Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles. Now, I just feel like I didn't see a lot from him during preseason. And look, yes, he would be the 5th linebacker, but I think that because the Giants have the 3rd spot on the waiver list, they're going to go after a linebacker from that perspective. I think they could also go defensive lineman. They could also go cornerback. You know, there's going to be a lot of other decisions that they're going to have to make. But I'm starting to feel like linebacker could be a position that they try to go for if they like someone that's available on waivers. And look, maybe they'll keep Flannigan-Fowles and he will be the 5th linebacker. I don't know. I just feel like you're going to tell me there's not better out there, even someone who gets cut from another team. I mean, as of Monday morning, there were over 800 players that were cut, and that's not even the beginning of it. So anyway, I think this roster is going to continue to evolve, as we know that it always does. But I'm starting to think that where I originally didn't have linebacker as on my list that they would go after on waivers, I now think that that could be a possibility for them. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see what they decide. But so as of right now, I only kept the 4 linebackers, leaving that 5th spot open for someone that they could go after in waivers, or maybe it'll be Demetrius. Time will tell. Moving along to the corners. So I kept 6 again, and I only have 1 change here. Tay Banks, Drew Phillips, Paulson Adebo, Cordell Flott, Art Green, and then my last one, the first iteration, was O'Donnell Fortune, my guy from South Carolina, but the Giants cut him already. I think that he just did not do enough throughout preseason to prove that he warranted a roster spot. And on the contrary, my beloved Nick Jones, who I didn't even have on my first round of roster cuts because I think, or roster prediction, because I did it before training camp, before I got to see Nick Jones in the flesh, see what he's capable of. He, in my opinion, definitely worked his way into a roster spot. On top of that, he is the only cornerback that we have right now that is capable of playing the slot corner. So if God forbid Drew Phillips goes down, it's going to be him. It's either him or TJ Moore, and TJ Moore is on IR with a broken leg. So that's unfortunate. Now, we've talked about how the cornerback is probably going to be a position that the Giants go after on waivers. I think that's likely the case. I think that Art Green and Nick Jones both did very nice jobs throughout camp. I think that there is a guy that you could throw into this mix, then maybe that's Trey Hawkins, who's kind of been hit or miss with an injury, and I feel like he really hasn't gotten a lot of playing time lately. So maybe he's someone that the Giants will end up leaving on the practice squad. But I just feel like between Art Green and Nick Jones, they did more than enough throughout preseason to prove that they deserved a roster spot. And Art Green has been on this team before. He knows the defense. He's familiar with Shane Bowen. He made an amazing one-handed interception grab during camp, or I think it actually might have been during the preseason. But anyway, I just think that those two guys have done enough. Now, if they bring in another corner during the waiver wire, then either one of those guys could be gone. But I think for now, they have both proven that they deserve to be on the 53. And I think they've both done a great job. The biggest question that I have around the cornerback is probably the same question that you guys all have. Is it Cordell Flott or is it Tay Banks week 1 outside or opposite Paulson Adebo? I think right now, in my opinion, it's 60-40 Flott over Banks because we saw a lot of really good plays from Flott during preseason. And not only were they just really good plays, like the pass breakup that he had on 3rd and 2 that forced the Jets to punt, those are the types of plays that earn you the starting role. When you can do stuff like that in big leverage games, in situations where you have to force the offense to punt or turn the ball over or something, those are the types of plays that you need. And we don't unfortunately see a lot of that from Tay Banks. And look, he's been dealing with an injury, so we didn't see him the last 2 preseason games. And Joe Shane said in the first preseason game, after they put Banks out there for an entire quarter, he said, these guys, it's a competition. So I really don't know. I'm guessing it's 60-40. I think from a talent perspective, Banks is probably the better one, but I don't know. I don't know how much they're going to weigh camp versus what they did in the past versus what they did in preseason versus injury. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And I think, in my opinion, if a cornerback is a position that they bring in on their first chance at waivers, that is going to lead me to believe that they don't feel very confident in Banks or Flott opposite Adebo, which is concerning, but at least they're going to try and do something about it. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see what they end up doing. But let's go ahead and move along to safety. This is my last bucket here. And surprisingly, I do not have any changes from the first time to the second time. I have Javon Holland, Tyler Nubin, Dane Belton, and Makari Page. Now, the first time I made it, I was like, I just like Makari Page. I think that he is going to have the opportunity to make some plays. And the first 2 preseason games, he got some playing time and, didn't do much. Was it the last preseason game? He had an interception and a pass breakup, both coming at impressive times. So I think it was either between him and Raheem Lane. And I think Raheem Lane is dealing with an injury right now. He hasn't been practicing a lot. So what I could see them doing is keeping Makari Page on the 53, Raheem Lane either on an injury list or practice squad, and then they rotate that 4th position depending on how Page either plays, if he gets any playing time during the season, or how Raheem Lane comes up and maybe they rotate them during practice. Obviously, I don't know what they'll end up doing, but I think there's a possibility that those scenarios could be options for the Giants. But I was kind of surprised kept the 4 safeties. Think the Giants are going to keep 4-2, and it's going to be really interesting to me to see what they end up doing. They did cut Kavon Wallace, who I know some people were fans of and was hoping that he was going to make this roster, and unfortunately not the case right now. So it's going to be interesting. Is safety another position that they go after on waivers? I don't know. But we're going to know soon enough. By this afternoon, we will have the Giants' 53-man final roster for now. Again, it's always changing, but it'll be the cuts that get them down to 53, and then we'll see the changes from there. We're going to talk through it all tomorrow. So subscribe and like for more Giants news and updates.